Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Thank you everyone for joining. And I will do a quick Mangalacharan. I think many will know. But for those who are new, sorry, what's your name?
Colin.
Colin lives upstairs. And he has come down to give us his association. So thank you very much for joining.
Can I just say it's a pleasure and a privilege to be invited into this beautiful family home, and I'm very proud as an Englishman to see people from all colours, all creeds coming together in peace and love and harmony. Thank you.
Haribol. Haribol. Thank you
We are
very
very
much.
pleased to have you here as a very good neighbor.
I should have come
Family
down the
member.
last time, and I was given a telling off.
No, Mr. Collins didn't see any shoes because the shoes were in the porch. So I said this time I make sure to put the shoes out so you know they are here. So he was celebrating, but he didn't know.
That's nice. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That's very nice. So we'll do a quick Mangalacharan. Mangalacharan is basically just an invocation for all the spiritual teachers of the past. So what we're really doing is just seeking their blessings and praying to them that they can help open the heart up so that whatever we speak can actually go deep, because that's the point of spiritual wisdom, is to go deep in the heart. So just do a quick one. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please feel free to put me down this down. Don't need to hold it the whole time.
That's a good
As you get tired.
Fall asleep, you know? That's a good
Just
position. Yeah.
No, thank you very much for playing. And,
Thank you.
I'm glad that Kirmataji has got actual people who can play Kirtan to come this time around. But it'll be nice. So, I was asked to speak about a specific topic. Would you like to share the topic?
I wonder which one you chose.
I thought we decided, no?
You chose two?
She asked me about the topic of anger in Krishna consciousness. Anger in spiritual life. Because we all still get angry. I'm sure you've heard, Kiran is constantly shouting, and you can hear it all the way upstairs.
I always say sorry.
No, but it's something we all deal with, right? For as long as we're in the material world, for as long as we're not purely spiritual, purely in Krishna consciousness, anger is bound to be something we experience and go through. So how do we deal with it? Now, I have zero realizations of this. My mum is sitting here. She can tell you how I get very angry a lot of the times. So I am not going to be speaking anything from realization. It will be purely from what I've heard from the scriptures and some things that maybe we all can relate to. But we are in the month of Kartik. On Kartik, every day of Kartik, we celebrate one thing specifically, which is Damodar, Deepdan to Lord Damodar. So how can we have a topic of anger in Kartik and not talk about Damodar's anger? Right? So who's aware of the Damodar Leela?
That was anger as well. It was happened through anger.
Yes, happened through anger. Your name, Prabhu?
Vikash.
Vikash. So, I will go through the pastime of Damodar quickly, and then later on we'll have Damodar Ashtakam and candle offerings as well. And so please do allow your family to sing Damodar Ashtakam. Be nice. But a quick Damodar Leela, just so everybody comes up to speed with what the pastime is. It's basically a pastime, but that is based in Vrindavan of the Lord. So you see there's a little, I'll call it a statue for now, on a red seat you see there's a blue boy who is tied to a wooden grinding mortar, and next to him is an elderly woman who's tying him up. And that blue boy is God, being tied up. Krishna, yes, he's Krishna, being tied up by Mother Yashoda. Why is a mother binding her child up? Why is she binding God?
Because Krishna was, he broke all the pots of yogurt.
He broke all the pots of yogurt and butter, yes. Why would God do such a thing? He got angry. Oh, hungry. Hungry. Okay, so all the kids, all the parents, when your kids get hungry, they're allowed to break everything at home now. Right? That's what we're saying here. God is showing us this. Let's backtrack. Pastime of Damodar. It starts off actually on Diwali day, on the day that we celebrate Diwali. And previous to that, Krishna is recognized as stealing butter, stealing yogurt from everyone's homes. And so Krishna's mother is thinking, I'm going to make the yogurt for my son with the best cow milk that's available. And because it was Diwali, everybody goes on holiday. So all the servants were on holiday on Diwali. And so Yashodama decides that I will churn the yogurt today. And so she wakes up. Usually she sleeps next to Krishna, or Krishna sleeps next to her. But she wakes up, she goes and starts churning yogurt in order to make butter. So she's left the room, she's gone outside, she's starting to chant. And now Krishna, whilst he's sleeping, he's going, he turns over and he's going, wait, I don't feel my mother anymore. So now he's thinking, my mother's gone. So he decides, now it's time for me to wake up and have milk. And so he climbs out of bed, goes outside the room, he sees his mother churning yogurt. Back in the olden days, they'd churn with the massive rods. And so he holds the rod to stop her from churning it. And Yashodama realizes that, oh, my son is smart. He could hold any part of he could hold and touch any part of the
Yogurt maker.
the yogurt maker, let's call it that. But he recognizes that in order to stop me churning, you have to hold the rod. He could have held the pot, he could have held the arms, he could have just tugged her sari, her clothes, but he realized, touch the rod. And so Yashoda's recognized, now my son's come out, now he needs food, he needs milk. So she takes Krishna, baby Krishna, into her arms and starts breastfeeding him. Now, we know in this world, scientifically speaking, milk really comes into the body of a female when they become a mother, or as they're about to become a mother, because that's the affection, that's the hormonal changes. And in this pastime, the same thing. She's the mother, so milk is coming out. But it's also described that to the degree that the mother has love for the child, to that degree, milk is available in the breasts. And Yashoda Ma has, it's described, unlimited love for her son Krishna, because he's God. And Krishna has unlimited hunger for the milk, because he's not tasting the milk, he's tasting the love of Yashoda. And so here you've got a fight between Krishna's desire for the milk and the love, and Yashoda's desire to feed Krishna and feed her son love. And so they're going back and forth. She described that she could realistically give unlimited milk to Krishna if she wanted to. But just prior to this whole scene, Yashoda had actually put milk on the stove in preparation to feed Krishna. That eventually he will need more milk, and so I can't sit here all day and feed breast milk, so I can feed this milk. But at this point, I guess a precursor, disclaimer, in the spiritual world, everything has consciousness. And that means that everything is living, everything thinks, and everything's consciousness is purely about how can I serve Krishna? What is my service to Krishna right now? And so the milk on the stove is thinking, hang on, I'm being boiled here so that I could end up serving Krishna by being drunk by Krishna. But Krishna's enjoying the milk of the mother. And Yashoda can give unlimited milk. Krishna can drink unlimited milk. So where's my service now? And so the milk decides, and the acharyas say this, I'm not just making this up. The milk decides, I'm just going to jump in the fire and commit suicide. My life is over. Everything that I've been wanting to do, no more. And what happens when milk enters the fire? Flames. Those who go into the kitchen will know. Starts to sizzle, right? You can hear something's happening. And so Yashoda must see hearing like, oh, I forgot about the milk, which is on the stove. Sizzling. So she decides, okay, I need to put Krishna down and go and attend to the milk. And as she puts him down, Krishna's like, no, I haven't finished with my milk yet. And so as, your name? Yuvraj. As Yuvraj was saying, Krishna got angry. And then he decided, you know what? My mother's done it this time. Now, he can't go and beat his mother up. So what he decides, he's going to beat all the pots up in the house. So he takes, I forgot what it's called, but it's a stick, it's like in a porto or mesta. Sorry, pestle and mortar. It's the handle of that. He takes that and chucks it at the pot of butter that Yashoda was churning, breaks that. And then he goes into the next room, and then he sees that there's pots hanging, and he starts breaking those pots and starts eating it as he was doing just now, eating the butter, and also feeding it to the monkeys. And Yashoda comes out from the kitchen and sees, okay, what's just happened here? Everything, all the butter, all the milk is on the floor, the pot's broken, and then she sees footsteps going to the next room. And so she's following the footsteps and she sees that, oh, Krishna's sitting on this wooden grinding mortar, that wooden log that you see. Krishna was sitting on top of it, feeding the monkeys and eating himself. And Yashoda's calm now. And what happens when a mother is chasing a child? Two things happen. One is either the child gets so scared and the mother literally grabs hold of him, or the child starts to run, legs it as fast as it can. And that's what Krishna decided to do. And so we see that this pastime is Yashoda is chasing Krishna, and Krishna is running away as fast as his little legs can take him. But eventually, Yashoda catches up to Krishna. And as you see here, she then ties Krishna up. And then a small pastime after, let me share it actually. There's a pastime related to that where she's trying to tie him. Now, natural, right? If I take Yuvraj, I just need a rope that is as big as Yuvraj to tie him, and let's say we're tying him to the mridanga. Wrong. Well, you just need logic says you just need a rope that's as big as Yuvraj and the mridanga and enough to tie it around, right? But this is God, this is Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita it's described that Krishna has no beginning, no middle and no end. So how can anybody tie somebody who has no beginning, no middle, no end? You can't. Sorry? Unless he lets you. He's smart. So unless God decides to let you be bound, so to let himself be bound, he can't be bound. And so Yashoda's trying to bind Krishna, but it so happens that it's always 2 fingers short. So she decides, okay, maybe I didn't get rope long enough. Goes inside the house, gets more rope. Ties them together, tries to tie Krishna. Nope, still 2 fingers too short. Asks all the villagers, please get me rope. Help me bind Krishna, he's been naughty, I need to tie him up. But nope, still 2 fingers too short. And in the end, Yashoda is sweating, her flower gardens from her hair are falling out, her sari is draping off. All the mothers will recognize and have some experience of this. The fathers we don't. I'm not a father, but the fathers are like, he's been naughty, you deal with him, you go chase him around. But I'm gonna go to work and look after the family. Oh, chillax, huh? So the mothers will have experience of running around their children. And Krishna's like, my mother's put a lot of effort in. Let me just be bound. Let her experience what it's like to bind God. And so then we have this image, this situation that's happened. And then afterwards, those who know, there's another pastime relate to it, but I won't get into that. But this is an interesting pastime because, let me go to the actual Sanskrit. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Trividam narakasyedam dvaram nashanam atmanaha kama krodhas tatha lobhas tasmadeta trayam tyajet. Translation from the Bhagavad Gita, which is the foundational study of spiritual science in Krishna consciousness. He says, there are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita that we should give up lust, anger, and greed. And yet in this pastime we see Krishna was lusting after milk. He got a taste of milk, so he started greeding after more milk. And when that greed wasn't satisfied, he became angry and started breaking everything in his path. So God is teaching us lust, anger, greed are the 3 gates to hell, and yet he himself is lusting, is greeding, and then getting angry. Such a contradictory God, such a hypocrite. Okay. Put your hands up if you think it's hypocritical of God. Oh wow, I'm the only one that puts my hand up. Okay, maybe you guys should sit here. But what we recognize is that the reason why everybody doesn't put their hand up is because it's Krishna, right? Because God can do anything. There is no right or wrong in God's kingdom, actually. I guess from Christianity we may understand that heaven is that place, the kingdom of God, and in heaven whatever happens is actually all truth, it's all good. So even if there's something that apparently looks wrong, it's actually still all good in God's kingdom. So this topic of anger is a very interesting topic because Krishna is showing us anger in a transcendental way. But when we show anger, how much of it is transcendental? I see lots of people shaking their head. Apart from Yuvraj, of course. Yuvraj's anger is transcendental.
Really?
It's Balaram.
So I'm not here to talk about anger management because, like I mentioned earlier, I would be sitting on the Vyasasana and preaching something that I have no realization on. But what I thought would be nice is to kind of turn this idea of different categories of anger. I've kind of seen it in 3 ways, 3 different types or 3 different categories of anger that we may experience or have to some degree. And we'll see those from the scriptures as well as from our own lives. And like I said, my mum is right here. So for those who want to question that I'm being humble, well, she's right there. You can ask her how angry I get. But hopefully she says that over the past 8-9 months, I've been much better at controlling my anger. But let's see. So, and I guess another precursor before I start is that, like any class, the class is spoken more so for the purification of the speaker. And if anybody else benefits from it, that is a credit to their seriousness, their sincerity in transforming their lives. And also, the scriptures describe such a person as being a swan who can extract the milk from a mixture of milk and water. So I'm speaking for my purification so that I can actually recognize and try and hopefully imbibe some of the stuff that I'm going to say and remember it. But at the same time, all those who are hearing here, maybe those online afterwards, will hopefully benefit something because you guys are like swans. So the first category I thought of is a very obvious one that we all go through, and that is mundane anger. Mundane anger. Anger because it's not related to Krishna, it's not related to God, it's not related to anything spiritual, but it's just because your wife decided she was going to do something that you don't like. So what happens, Matthew?
Opposite, yeah? Opposite.
Oh, opposites. Oh, maybe we can have a debate afterwards. But we recognize this type of anger, right? We all go through this. The wife, the children, the parents, the husband. Somebody has done something, the siblings. Somebody has done something that we don't like. Or that we told them, like, do something like this, but they didn't listen to us. They did their own thing. And now we're angry because, if only Zonkana listened, man. Like, why can't she listen? But we all go through this. And we see in the scriptures there are many, many examples of personalities who go through mundane anger. And this mundane anger often comes from this place of pride, because we feel like we know better, we deserve better. But also from a place of feeling like we're in control. We should have control over what's happening in our life and others' lives. So a couple of examples, and I'm just going to be conscious of time. What time do you want to start? What time do you want to start? It's 10 past 5. Okay. Well, until the children decide that they're hungry, I guess. So I picked out 3 examples from the scriptures, and we just briefly talk about them. So the first one is a very commonly understood one, which is Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. So Durvasa Muni is a great sage. A sage is somebody, or a Muni is somebody who has controlled their senses, who has understood the science of spirituality and is able to live by the words of the scriptures. But Durvasa Muni was such a personality that he had all of that, but he had one major problem, one major flaw, and that was that anger was always on his nose. If somebody did even a slight thing out of order, he wouldn't hesitate to just curse them and give a very harsh curse, that too. And in this pastime of the Rasamuni and Ambarish Maharaj is actually a king. He was a great king, but he was also a great devotee. He was a great man of integrity and somebody who was spiritually very elevated. And he understood the science of spirituality. He understood the rules and regulations of what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But he came across a predicament. He came across a predicament because he was fasting, and according to the laws of fasting, there's a certain time to break the fast, a certain period on the next day. But Durvasa Muni had turned up, and because he was such a great personality, he was a great Brahmana, the etiquette is that you feed the Brahmana before you eat. So before you eat yourself, you feed the higher personality. But the Durvasa Muni came at such a time that it became almost like he had to choose. Does he follow etiquette with the Brahmana, or does he follow etiquette by breaking the fast at the right time? And long story short, what ended up happening is that he consulted the other Brahmanas, other senior spiritualists who understood the science, and then they came to a conclusion, a compromise, which is by drinking water, it's as good as breaking your fast, because now you've taken something into your body by eating, drinking. But then it's also as if you haven't broken etiquette of feeding the Brahmana first because you haven't properly fed the meal, you haven't eaten the meal properly. So Amrish Maharaj decided to do this. And the Rasa Muni came back, so he went for a shower, basically, in a bathe in the Ganga, or one of the rivers. And then he recognized what had happened. He saw, because he had the vision to see. And because from his perception, his vision, it was out of order, what does he do? He cursed Amrish Maharaj. Basically, he basically created a demon to basically kill Amrish Maharaj. And Amrish Maharaj, being a great devotee, the Lord was ready to protect him. And the Rasa Muni, because of this angry act, or this act out of anger, he had to run around the three worlds trying to find shelter, trying to find some safety from God's weapon. And God's weapon was such that it was, unlike our bombs these days or our bullets these days, they don't just go in a straight line, they don't just go to a single place. What they do is that they're very targeted. If I released God's weapon onto yourself, it would chase yourself. It wouldn't, even if you hit behind the Vyambara, it would go past the Vyambara and focus it. It's like targeted missiles.
Big circumference.
Yes, be like that. And so Amrish the Rasa had to run around all three worlds trying to find shelter, and he went to try and find shelter in God himself. But God said, I can't give you shelter. You have to go and take shelter of the one you've offended. So we see his anger there, and what that did is that he had to run around all three worlds to try and find shelter. But in the end, he had to bow his head down to the one he offended. A second example that we can think of, and I'll talk about this briefly, is Kamsa. Kamsa is described as the mama of Krishna in the past times. But Kamsa was such a personality that when the story starts, he's taking his sister, who's Krishna's mother, not this mother. Yashoda is actually like a foster mother, but it's birth mother. He's taking her, who's called Devaki, and her husband, who had just got married, from the place of marriage to the new home. So he was driving the chariot for them. Usually it would be the servants, usually it would be chariot drivers, but because of the affection he had for his sister, he wanted to drive the chariot himself. And at that moment, a great celestial voice comes and says, "You fool! Kamsa, you fool! You're taking the mother, or you're carrying that person who is going to be your death, the cause of your death. You're carrying them to your place, to their place of happiness, to their place of residence. You're a fool. The 8th child of the Yuki will kill you." And even though he had so much affection for his sister, he did not hesitate to take out his sword, grab her hair, and was just about to slash her head off, because his life was in danger from her. But the husband's name is? Husband. Vasudev. There's Vasudev and there's Vasudev. Vasudev is Krishna, but Vasudev is the father of Krishna. So Vasudev, using his intelligence, using his material prowess as well as his spiritual prowess, managed to salvage the situation and save Devaki. But we see again there, Kamsa lived his whole life in fear and in this desire to kill Krishna. He sent many demons to kill Krishna. He sent many personalities. He himself tried to kill Krishna. But Krishna had had enough of all his atrocities over time. And in the end, he had to decide. Krishna decided that, Kamsa, the amount of atrocities that you're allowed to perform are done. So now we have to end your life. So Kamsa then also, his pride, his ego, his desire to control ended. But this time, by Kamsa being killed. And then we're in Kartik, so we have to talk about Indra and Govardhan. couple of days before Diwali, I think it's a week, I don't know if somebody can correct me, but I think it's a week or 2 weeks before Diwali. All the Vrajvasis, all the residents of Vrindavan were ready to offer their respects. It was almost like it was Indra's birthday. Indra is described as the god of the higher planets. Really and truly, he's basically like the king of the higher planets. Not really god of the higher planets, but he's the king of the higher planets. And all the residents of Vrindavan were ready to worship him, were ready to take a lot of offerings to him. And Krishna was thinking, why are we doing this? Is it scriptural? Is it mentioned in the scriptures? Is it mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita? Is it mentioned in the Vedas? But all the Vrajvasis realized, okay, it's not. And Krishna convinced them that instead of worshipping this higher personality, why don't you worship this hill, Govardhan Hill? I don't know if you've got a picture. Anyway, yes, why don't you pray and offer everything to this Govardhan Hill? Because this Govardhan Hill is the reason why we have our food. It's the reason why our cows and cattle can graze. It's the reason why we can basically experience the joy of food, the joy of water, the joy of family, the joy of everything. So why not just pray to the hill? And Indra heard about this, that all the residents of Vrindavan had decided to forgo his worship and worship this hill. And so Indra decided, that's not right. How can they give up my worship and worship this hill? And so Indra decided that he was going to send all sorts of havoc to Vrindavan. Because he's the king of the higher planets, he has control over practically the weather. He has control over the clouds. He has control over the rains. He has control over all of these natural facilities. And so he decided he was going to send torrents of rain, thunder that would literally like break anything and everything in its path. And he also sent like stormy wind. And all the residents of Vrindavan were struggling to just find shelter. And they were just looking for something like, we're struggling, like the winds, everything will get ruined. And so they go to Krishna, please save us. And so Krishna decides that he's going to pick up this hill. He's God, he can pick up the hill and give shelter to all the residents of Vrindavan for 7 days, 7 nights. And this is all because Indra was so angry at the residents of Vrindavan that he wanted, by hook or by crook, they realized that my position is superior, nobody else is as big as me. How dare these residents of Vrindavan, this small little village on planet Earth, how dare they not worship me? But Krishna, being God, he saved all the residents of Vrindavan from even experience the slightest bit of anxiety from Indra. They had only one anxiety, and that was Krishna hasn't eaten for 7 days. Because he held the hill for 7 days. He hadn't eaten for 7 days. 7 days. Could you go without food for 7 days? No. But Indra's anger was such that he thought he could control. He thought he could destroy everything. But Krishna humbled him. Krishna made him realize that actually, you're just mortal. You think you're in control, you think you have all this great power, but actually, just by my little finger, I can protect everyone that you try to destroy. And so in the end, Indra basically found that, okay, I'm dealing with God here. I just realized this blue boy is God. So I'm going to have to succumb myself and pay my respects. And so backstory, there's a cow on the altar, so I'll talk about the cow very briefly. There was a cow, the Surabhi cow. Surabhi is a very special type of cow that gives a lot of like rich milk and a lot of quantity of milk. And so Indra decided that Krishna loves the cows because of the milk and because of everything they provide. Let me take a cow with me as I apologize to Krishna. And if he's going to get angry, then he might look at the cow and think, I can't get angry because the Surabi cow is there. So yeah, so Indra's then protected by Krishna himself because the Surabi cow is there. You were putting your hand up. Oh,
I was just going to say something humorous, but I think you're quite serious at the moment. I was going to say, is Indra angry with UK and London? It's always raining here. I don't know.
maybe because we don't have Surabi cow.
Oh, we don't have Surabi
cow.
here. That's why we need to get Surabi here.
Should we bring?
Should we bring her? Yeah, we should bring her.
Can I say something?
Yes.
According to the Shastra, it says, not little finger, it's the tip of the nail.
Oh yeah. You can even say
that
that.
shows how much powerful he is, you
The
know.
tip of the little finger, that too on his left hand, which is not his
Yes.
dominant hand.
And then all the cowherd people, the boys and the girls saw him lifting the mountain, and all were worrying that the mountain can fall. So what they were doing with their stick, they come and try to help Krishna to hold the mountain. So everybody was holding with their stick as well. So yeah, there's beautiful pictures about that. No? So when you go to India in Vrindavan, there's lovely pastime of Krishna. When you see that, really, you know, it's all to believe. When you see the things, when you hear it, it's everything to individual belief, you know.
So mundane anger we can very much relate to, this idea of pride, this idea of control. Somebody's not done something I wanted them to do. I'm gonna send some storms and some rains their way. It might, not looking at anyone in particular, it might look like trying to slap and punch and hit the elder sister, or do something like that. Or it might look like very loud noises coming from the mouth to the spouse. Everybody's looking around now. They do this. But yeah, it's we can all relate to the mundane anger. But then it's described as spiritual anger. And I just want to clarify one thing. Anger itself is not wrong, by the way. Anger is an emotion that we all experience because it's there to tell us that something is going wrong according to what we planned. So the feeling of anger is not wrong. But what ends up being wrong is how we express that anger. The way we express that anger determines how much control we have over the emotion of anger. Spiritual anger, if mundane anger is about I, me, mine, what I wanted in life, but it didn't happen, then spiritual anger is actually all about selflessness. It's about being angry for selfless reasons, for other people, and specifically for those who are trying to grow and practice in spiritual life and protecting them. And we may not have experience of this, but again, we can see from the scriptures that there are many examples of selfless anger. And selfless means there's no concept of I that comes into the picture. There's no false ego that comes into the picture. There's no my desire. There's no what I wanted to do. There's no my job, my anything. It's all about other people need to be protected. It's all about Krishna's plan. It's all about God's plan and making sure that God's plan works correctly. So from the scriptures we can see there's different examples. The most common one that people of many natures and many like parts of India, but also those around or outside of India also know, and that is Hanuman. Hanuman is a great warrior, devotee in a body of a monkey. Backstory: Ram in a previous age, the incarnation of God in a previous age, Ram was trying to find Sita, who was kidnapped and taken to across the ocean in one sense. And Hanuman was helping Ram find Sita. He jumps across the ocean because he has the power to do that. He was able to do that. He was given many powers. And he jumps across and he's thinking, where do I find Sita? And he decides that the best way to find Sita is to get taken to the one who's kidnapped Sita. But how do I get taken to him? Well, let me just ask people, try and find out who wants to kidnap me, who wants to take me to the king of Lanka at that time, Ravan, because Ravan was the one who kidnapped Sita. And so I think it's Ravan's son, I think, or grandson, something like that. One of Ravan's relatives finds Hanuman, and Hanuman's like, you know, I'm basically here, like, I'm gonna save Sita, like, what do you want to do? And then he allows himself to get captured and taken to Ravan. So now, I mean, where Ravan is, that's where Sita's going to be, right? Because that's where the king's going to take her. So he decides, okay, fine. You know, now I know where Sita is, great. But what Ravan decides to do is to basically punish Hanuman for coming here, thinking he could do anything. He sets Hanuman's tail on fire, the monkey's tail on fire. Now, if anybody's seen what a monkey does when they're in pain, they just start running around, jumping around, doing anything and everything, breaking everything. Like, they just go mad. It's like they're intoxicated. But Hanuman was a devotee, as was mentioned. He was a great spiritual personality. And he recognized that, okay, like, my tail's on fire. This Ravan, I need to burn him to death. But recognizing that that was Ram's job, because it was Ram's service to actually punish the one who had kidnapped his wife. So he decided, I'll burn all of Lanka and show Ravan that I can do this. So what do you think Ram could do? And so he goes around all of Lanka, burning all of the places, but he was very targeted. There were a couple of devotees in Lanka, and he knew them, he knew of them because around their house, around their place of residence, they had Ram's name written on them. Like, I don't know if you have it here, but somebody might have Krishna's name or God's names. You know, sometimes we also have that. Different faiths, different religions will also have that. Outside they'll have Allah's name, Christ's name, etc. And so Hanuman recognized that, oh, here is a great devotee of Ram. And so, because even though he was angry, even though his tail was burning, he was very conscious that my anger needs to be used in service. And so instead of burning those houses, he was, okay, this is a house of a devotee, I'm not going to come near it. And he goes around and burns all the other houses that are not residents of those who are servants of Ram. And so we can see there, anger that Hanuman had, because his tail was burnt, he didn't use it and just lash out at everyone and anyone. He used it in a way to maximize his service to Ram. So that's one example. Second example, we can go back to the Indra pastime. We can see what Krishna's anger. When Indra started to give torrents of rain, thunder, wind, all the Vrajvasis were coming to Krishna and going, save us, Krishna. And Krishna's thinking, that Indra, he thinks he can ruin my place of residence. He thinks he can ruin and destroy my family, my friends, all those who love me, who care for me. Who does Indra think he is? And so Krishna utilizes his anger towards Indra, and he uses it in a very nice way. He doesn't lash out at Indra. You don't see him going up to the heavens and goes, Indra, come down, like drags him down and like completely wipes him out. What he does, he goes, my anger, I'm going to channel it to protect the Vrajvasis, the residents of Vrindavan. And by protecting the residents of Vrindavan, Indra will start to get more angry, and he'll try and hurt them even more. But eventually he'll come to a realization that actually, no matter what I'm trying to do, it's just not working. And so his anger will then eventually subside. And what happens is we see that Indra gets more angry, which is why on Govardhan he actually exerts even more thunderbolts. He himself comes to try and destroy the Govardhan hill. But Govardhan's just in ecstasy, being touched by the Lord, being held up on the tip. And Indra then comes to this realization that no matter what I'm trying to do, nothing's working. And so we see here, Krishna has basically subsided Indra's anger. And Krishna's own anger was used to subside it. And Indra in return, what does he do? He doesn't just beg for forgiveness. He promises and he begs, or prays rather, that may I never perform this sort of sinful act again. And so Krishna's like, okay, fine. But then later on we see he does something similar again, and Krishna again chastises him. But you see, Krishna's anger was again targeted. He wanted Indra to learn the lesson, so his anger was channeled towards Indra, but in a way to protect the Vrajavasis instead of allow them to be destroyed. And the third one that most of us will know of is the fearsome half man, half lion, called Nrsimhadev. So Nrsimha is an incarnation of God who is half man, half lion. And we know the background of why he became half man, half lion, because there was a great demoniac personality who thought he had it all. He thought he had the intelligence to say, I will live forever. He asked for boons where he could be destroyed neither outside nor inside, nor on land nor in the air, nor by man nor by animal, nor by weapon, nor by hand. And like this, many different things. He thought he covered everything. He thought he created the immortality formula by saying that, okay, personalities can't give me immortality, but at least they can make me not die from something and anything in the world. But then God's intelligence is greater. So God found that instead of outside and inside, I'll kill him in the doorway. Instead of by man or by animal, I'll kill him by a hybrid species. Instead of by killing him on the ground or in the air, kill him on the lap. And like this, he went through many, like his form, his incarnation is created in such a way that protected the boons that this personality had, this demonic personality had, but also completely obliterated his idea of what it means to be intelligent, because he ultimately had a route to death. But we see Nrsimhadev came into this world based on anger. He came because this demoniac personality, Hiranyakashipu, his son was a great devotee. His son was a great spiritualist, Prahlad. And Prahlad was completely unwavering in his devotion. Even though his father was telling him, like, stop worshipping God, worship me. I'll kill God. Like, who does God think he is? I have this immortality boon. I will kill God. But Prahlad was like, no, you get your power from God. Like, what makes you think that you can kill God? And Hiranyakashipu tries to kill Prahlad many times. And Prahlad eventually they have a conversation, and Prahlad basically goes like, look, you demoniac king, you get your power from God. You should think, you should submit yourself to God, because at the end of the day, if you want your power, if you want to stay the king, ultimately God is the only one that gives you your position in life. Without God's sanction, nothing, not even a blade of grass moves. So who do you think you are? And so Hiranyakashipu is challenging Prahlad, like, oh, where is your God? And Prahlad saying, everywhere. And so Hiranyakashipu says, is he in this pillar? And Prahlad says, yes, he's in this pillar. He's in this mic. He's in everything. And so Hiranyakashipu smashes the pillar, and out comes this fearsome form, half man, half lion. And literally, an incarnation of God purely to destroy that personality that threatened his devotee. But again, the anger was very directed towards Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad was there. All the personalities from the higher planets were also present. They all also came to look. And the personalities were thinking, now he's killed Hiranyakashipu, but his anger is still like on his head. His anger is still on his nose. There's pictures. I don't know if you've got any here. But
I was looking, but I couldn't see.
On the left was the altar.
Okay, maybe later we can see. For those who are interested, there's a very fearsome form where God has his arms ripping open the chest. He's pulling out the intestines of this demonic personality. And that is God. He's doing this to a demonic personality. And that's the angry form of God, the most ferocious form of God that we have in the literatures. And everybody's afraid, like, we need to calm God down. Like, he's not calming his anger down. How do we calm him down? I'm not going in front of him. Like, his nails are so big, as wide. He's still ripping out the intestines of this demonic personality. He's drinking the blood. Like, if I go there, I'm just going to be mince pie. I'm just going to be eaten raw. Like, Hiranyakashipu was such a great demoniac personality who tried to fight, but me, I'll just be like, flicked away like that. But then Prahlad Maharaj says, okay, I'll do it. I'll go and pacify God. And he goes, and in that picture, the usual picture, you see that Nrsimhadev, the half man, half lion, is putting his hand on the head of Prahlad in a very loving, fatherly way. Because again, his anger was directed towards protecting his devotee. So we saw 3 examples from the scriptures of mundane anger, 3 examples from scriptures of spiritual anger. What do you think is the third category? Lush. Lust or lust. But that comes under mundane anger, right? This idea of wanting something. Greed, okay, it's still mundane.
Love anger?
Love anger, okay. Well, like, I love you, but I hate you kind of anger. Any thoughts? Let's have 3 more other tries. Hatred. By the way, these aren't like disciplined categories, by the way. I kind of made this third category up, but the reason why I made it up is very, very targeted to the fact that we're all practicing spiritual life. Evil? Oh, ego. So I'm going to call it...
Oh, she says something.
Self-anger?
Self-anger? Kind of mundane. Okay, fine. Yeah, that's a good category. That's not what I was doing.
Being jealous of someone?
Being jealous of somebody. That again falls under like mundane, right? Like pride that I deserve something better. I called it my spirituality anger. My service anger.
That's close.
Let me give an example. Let me give an example. You're at home with Guru.
Oh, okay.
And it's early morning. So Guru is our husband, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, don't make sure you say that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's not like a Guru Maharaj.
Okay, sorry. Guru is our husband's name. Just a disclaimer.
I met him as well.
So Zankara is with Guru at home, and she's decided that, you know what, from tomorrow morning, I am going to chant 2 rounds in the morning every day, discipline. Before I start my day, 2 rounds. She wakes up.
Why?
I think, do you know where this is going? I think you know where this is going. She sits down to chant, and Guru's like, Zankara, can you make my breakfast, please? And what's the Zankara's reply? Can't you see I'm chanting? Jeez, I'm trying to do my spirituality, I'm trying to do my bhakti. It's more important than the breakfast. Jeez. And Guru just never learns, does he? And your anger is fully just because you're trying to do your spirituality, you're trying to practice your spiritual life, but Guru's getting in the way, the husband's getting in the way. If only you didn't get married, if only you decided to take sannyas and leave. Vanaprastha at least. If only. Put your hand up if you feel like this.
We got somebody.
Rather pure as well. If I asked everybody to close your eyes and then put your hand up, then everyone will put their hand up. But we feel this. It's a real thing. we will say that it's not mundane because it's about spiritual life. But we also know it's not spiritual because it's not selfless. It's about my spiritual life.
Yeah.
So where does it fall? That's why I call it the third category. Because it's a hybrid of the two. And so when I was given this topic, for those who know, last time, and the recording is there, so if you want to share it, if people are interested. Last time I had the topic of tolerance come up. I was asked to speak on tolerance. And then this time I was asked to speak on 3 things that were they anger and Christian consciousness? Do you remember the other 2? Anyway, very similar topics. And I was thinking, there's a theme here. Mataji wants to try and understand how to deal with family life, of which I have 0 experience, because I'm not married, I don't have kids. I have my mum, so again, I make it clear that I speak not from realization, and she can tell you afterwards about all of the things that I get up to. But I was thinking, she's trying to practice her spiritual life. I've experienced this myself, where I'm trying to chant in the morning, trying to do my spiritual practices, and then mom comes swinging the door open, can you speak like this, like speaking to me like, need to do this, need to do that. And I'll say, and hopefully she'll agree with this, over the past couple of years I've got much better at like responding instead of reacting. But
It's true.
You don't have to say yes.
But yeah, we start to feel like our family, the people around us, are now affecting our spiritual life. And all we want to do is focus on Krishna, but I have to deal with this mundane thing. How do we deal with that? And I reiterate again, I'm not speaking from realization. I'm trying to practice this myself, but this class is a good excuse to remind me of what I'm trying to practice. What tends to happen is that when somebody or something is getting in the way of our spiritual practices, we justify it so much that we're justified to be angry. I'm trying to engage in Krishna service. I'm trying to engage in my chanting, in my reading, in temple services, in school of bhakti services, whatever it is. I'm giving classes. I'm trying to do these things. But then here comes my wife, here comes my children, here comes my husband, here comes my fiancé, and it's basically pulling me away from my service for whatever reason, for a reason that is stupid. In our head we might think that, for a reason that is mundane, for a reason that I don't need in my life. And then fast forward a couple of hours, and now we need the help of our husband to get a big heavy bag of atta of 25 kg, bring it into the house. Or we need our spouse to give us some support because something terrible happened at work. Zankana's boss just really shouted at her, and now Zankana's like, Guru, you know, like, I just want to do my bhakti in the morning. I tried to chant 2 rounds. You didn't support me. And now I've just had a mouthful from my boss at work. Please hold me. Please hug me. Please pacify. Please, you know, give me some emotional support. And if Guru doesn't give that, you're meant to be giving me support. You're meant to be helping me. You're meant to be, you know, protecting me. Shastra says that the wife should be protected. Throw everything back out. And now Guru's going to be like, can't you see? I'm watching a class. We get angry when somebody disturbs our bhakti. And when somebody doesn't do what we need to feel stable in our life, we get angry at them still. And we justify it by saying it's their duty to do this to us, to give us protection, to care for us, to make the food to put the food on the table, whatever. We want both. We want to get angry for them wasting our time or wasting our time, but then we get angry at them for not wasting their time to serve us. We want the best of both worlds. Because the problem is that what we fail to realize is that this other person in our life, the spouse, the children, the parents, whoever you're living with is basically really what I'm talking about primarily here. Whoever, the people in the house, they're all doing a service, they're all doing something to allow us to practice our spiritual life in that house. Guru Maharaj would often say that we're not living in a house, we're living in a bhajan kutir. A bhajan kutir is a place where we're able to practice our spiritual practices. Chanting, reading, hearing classes, serving the deities, all these things that we do. And when we fail to realize that, what we end up doing is putting our direct spiritual practices above the stability of the household life. We're thinking that it's all about me and Krishna. But as many of us may know, there's 3 different categories of devotees. Kanishta, those who are of the neophyte stage. Sorry, there's feedback coming. I don't know if it's... Is that better? Okay. They feel that it's all about me and Krishna. Anything getting in the way between me and Krishna is not helping me in my service. Then the second class of devotees, of spiritual practitioners, they see that there's me and Krishna, but then there's also all these other people, all these other devotees who are also serving God. But then there's some people who aren't serving God. But then the highest, the topmost, are people who see that everybody else is serving God, but me. And we can see that when we're getting angry about these people, or family members, or the people that we're living with, or about to live with, we're seeing that if we're questioning whether they are serving, I don't know if it's feedback, or is it just me? If it's just me,
It's just you.
No.
okay, fine. That's fine. If what we fail to realize is that actually us trying to stabilize the ashram is going to support our bhakti so much more. Because yes, they're coming at a time where we're trying to practice our spiritual life. Of course, ideal would be when we're sitting down to chant, no disturbances. But bhakti is also described as ahotaki apriti hata, which means ahotaki apriti hata, if I'm saying the Sanskrit right. It's basically unmotivated and uninterrupted. Service to God is meant to be uninterrupted. But we sleep 7-8 hours a day. We eat. We do so many activities during the day that aren't directly related to God, chanting, reading, etc. But we do them because we recognize that these things, sleep means that my body will be rejuvenated to then serve God the next day. We eat so the body is rejuvenated and nourished to then serve better, to serve more. And so when we're thinking that our service is being interrupted, our chanting is being interrupted, yes, the chanting is being interrupted. And don't get me wrong, that I'm not using this as a justification that now all the Prabhus and all the Matajis, all the husbands and wives can now interrupt their partners chanting and reading, etc. But what my point is that when they're coming to you, when you're doing your service, then your service could be, why did you come when I'm chanting? Or it could be, what's my service in the moment to help them feel, or to be an instrument of Krishna's love to them? Because Krishna consciousness is about 2 things. It's about loving Krishna and being an instrument of Krishna's love. And both of those are activities of the heart. Srila Prabhupada calls ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna,
Consciousness.
activities, no?
Conscious.
Activities. Activities. Chanting, reading, worshiping the deities. Srila Prabhupada is telling us all these things. So it's International Society for Krishna Activities. Everybody is confused why I'm saying that, and then you're the one that's going, no, it's consciousness. I like that. Because Krishna consciousness is service to God through the heart that manifests outside. Service to God is service here which manifests here. But when we're seeing that Krishna consciousness is Krishna activities, which means it's here, in the hope that it goes here, that's when the anger starts to come. That's when Prabhu is disturbing my chanting. Prabhu can't see that I'm doing all this cooking and cleaning in the house. And he's coming at the time that I'm chanting to tell me that, oh, I'm getting late for work. Prabhu, how could you?
Just a human being.
That's true. So our anger comes because of that. And what time is it? 5:50. Okay. And I kind of give this thought, this realization didn't come as I was preparing this class. And it hasn't come from me studying the scriptures actually. It's come from something that happened a couple of years ago in my life. In 2021. When I went into the ashram in 2021 for a crash course in Bhakti Shastri. And this starts from before then. So little quick whistle stop tour of Bhaja Govindam Das's Krishna Conscious Life. 2021 is the first year that I really properly started to engage in service. Before then I was chanting, I was reading, I was doing a lot of spiritual life myself. And I had a period where I wasn't so serious, but then in summer 2020, I became serious and sincere. And then 2021 is when I started doing service. And
No, you became serious, but you were always sincere.
And then 2021, I start serving. And for those who know. For those who don't, maybe you can Google afterwards. But I had a very close, intimate service with, back then, Suttapa Prabhu, now Keshav Swami. So I was very fortunate. And in that year, somebody passed away. Kaun mari gayi? Dada. So our grandfather passed away. Now I wasn't so close to him. So for me it was like, okay, I was a bit blasé. Naturally I am. I'm a bit impersonal in general actually. So I was blasé about it. And it was funny in a loose sense, because when everybody in the house was planning to go and, pay respects and like just be with the family, etc. That was my first time having a international service call with an international preacher. So it was like, it was a massive service, and this was my first service ever. So I told Keshav Maharaj and the other devotees in the group that, hey, look, this happened, but I confirmed timings. I can still be back in time for my service call. And Keshav Maharaj said, no, be with family. I'm like, huh? Spiritual life is about go away from the attachments of family life, blah, 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 blah. And you're telling me like, go right where all the drama's gonna happen? I was like, everybody's saying that he was Suttapa Prabhu then, right? So he was a brahmachari. So everybody was saying like, okay, if listen to him, like he, not just for this, but before, I've been hearing it for many months, like he's an elevated soul, just listen to him. I was thinking like, are you guys sure he's an elevated soul? But okay, I've been told to listen to him, so listen to him. And then he encouraged me to go into the ashram. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go into the ashram. Like, what about my family? What my parents? Blah, 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 blah. And then he's the one telling me, no, you're a grown adult. Be firm that you want to go and experience life in the ashram. And then Mom will remember this, because I told her, I'm not asking, I'm telling, I'm saying that I'm going into the ashram. Right? So that happened. So then I was thinking like, hold on, like before you said be with family, now you're saying like give family, like be strong against family and go into the ashram. And then when I'm in the ashram, this continues. I'm like, I'm in the ashram, I want to just focus on my spiritual life. I just want to focus, like I'm only here for 3 months and then I know I'm going to go back out anyway. Let me just focus all my time, all my energy, all my attention on spirituality. I was the type of person in university that wouldn't even call home. They'd call me, I was that type of person. I brought that mentality into my ashram life. And I was like, I'm in the ashram, I'm in the center. I was basically practicing being a monk, right? Monks don't have family relationships. So I was like, yes, this is the best life ever. I don't have to call home, anything like that. I don't even have to go home because this was during COVID times as well. But then the brahmachari lead, my mentor, Keshav Swami, I called home. But I'm in the ashram, I'm trying to focus on my spiritual life, and you're telling me to now have a phone call with my family who are my attachment. Yeah, phone home. I was confused, but I was fine, whatever. And then here's the fun one. My sister had a baby shower whilst I was in the ashram. And this was only 2 weeks before I was coming out, 2 weeks or something like that. And I was telling Brahmachari lead, the head of Brahmachari ashram, the head of the monastery basically, as well as the Keshav Swami, as well as my mentor, they're having this, but I'm in the ashram, I'm only here for a couple of weeks more. I just want to focus my full time on being in the ashram. Absorb everything I can, give myself as much as I can. Because I know I'm coming out anyway. Why? But again, I get a very weird response. Go, just for a short time, just go. And at this point, I actually started arguing with my mentor. I was doesn't make sense. I'm in the ashram, I'm doing my service. I want my life to be focused on Krishna. I want my life to be focused on spirituality. But you're telling me to go and spend some time, even half an hour, do the needful so that they feel loved. But why? I'm living my spiritual life right here, right now. And then him and Keshav Maharaj, and I'm paraphrasing the next point, but they said something very, very interesting that then made this whole journey that I've been through of those 9 months or so a light bulb moment. It was a light bulb moment. Because they implied that you being in the ashram is almost like you're doing spiritual entertainment. That pain, that hurt. Because it's hang on, I'm trying to serve Krishna here. And you're calling it spiritual entertainment. I'm not doing, I was sleeping 3-4 hours max a day just because of my schedule. I was you're saying it's spiritual entertainment? And then my mentor told me that if you plan to accept monk life for longer, my suggestion would be different. But you're planning to go back home. Your service is to be an instrument of Krishna's love. And by you not going home, my sister, my mum, they'll feel neglected. But by you just going, even for a short period of time, they'll feel that actually he's not running away. He's actually bringing Krishna's love to them. And I stayed, 1 hour, I think? 1.5 hours. And then I left. I left early. I left much earlier than, I didn't even stay for the prasadam time. They had, food, they had, games and all that stuff. And I didn't stay for any of that. I stayed for the ceremony and then I left. But what that did was special, because what that did was allowed me to see that just by being an instrument of Krishna's love, they felt that love. Even though I was in the ashram, even though I was living my spiritual life, they felt loved enough that up until then, I had many conflicting arguments with my sister, with my mom, with my etc. about my practice. But they started appreciating and respecting it so much more. And that's what it means to be an instrument of love for Krishna. It's not about me, it's not about my service, it's not about my chanting, it's not about my reading. Yes, we do all of that. But for those who have done Gita life, or those who have studied Rupa Goswami's books, you'll see that there's three stages or three aspects to a journey of spiritual life. There's Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. Sambandha is the direct relationship. It's the relationship with God that we develop. Abhidheya is the practice we have. And Prayojana is the perfection, is the goal of spiritual life. Love of God, love of Bhakti, or Bhakti. When we look at Abhidheya, which is the practice of spiritual life, people often mistake it to just be the reading, the chanting, the deity worship, the service in the temple. But actually, the Abhidheya is made up of 3 factors. is the activities, like the reading, chanting, etc. The lifestyle, following the etiquettes of spiritual life, following how to, understanding and imbibing the mood of how to serve the deities correctly, how to enter the temple room properly, how to deal with those who are senior to us, those who are junior to us, how to deal with the opposite gender properly, right? Because there's etiquettes, there's ways to deal with each other. So first one was activities. Second one was lifestyle. Okay, let's go back then. First one is relationship, then practice, then perfection. Within abhidheya, within the practice, there's 3 stages. One is activities. Second one I just mentioned was lifestyle. Yeah. And then the third one is character. The qualities that we have in our life. If we're getting angry just because somebody's interrupting us, just because Guru has asked you for breakfast, Guru the husband has asked you for breakfast, when you're sitting down to chant your rounds, then are we really growing in our practice of Krishna consciousness? Because we're focusing on the activities, but where's the lifestyle and especially the character here? Character of humility, tolerance, compassion, fortitude, charity. Charity is not just money, it's not just like physical things, but it's also charity in time. So where are these qualities? Are we imbibing them? Are we trying to grow in these? We're so focused, and I speak for myself here, we can be so focused on doing our service that those around us, those who are actually supporting our service, I'll just go back to me and my mum, right? So we're living alone in the house. I'm able to sit down in the morning to chant my rounds because she will be going downstairs in the kitchen in the morning to make breakfast, lunch, etc. And then she's coming to disturb me, and it's like, you're disturbing my rounds. But imagine if she didn't do her service in the house. I'd have less time to chant my rounds because I'd have to do them, right? Or the husband, if the Mataji doesn't work. The husband is going out and earning all this money. For what? To run the household. If they don't do that service, neither of you are going to be able to practice in a bhajan kutir. And I'm conscious of time. I can go on.
Don't worry about time. Mataji, don't worry about time. Huh? Yeah, look.
I'm reminded of... but people get hungry too. She said, sorry, what's your name? Pritika. Pritika was saying that she, when I was talking about Krishna being hungry for 7 days, then in her eyes I could just see that she was like, I can't even stay hungry for 1 hour.
She can.
Yeah, they don't eat. We just need to pray here that these kids eat.
She was a yogi in her last lifetime.
The parents are here. They're fed up.
Oh, so what she was probably looking at me for is like, I wish my parents would allow me to not eat for 7 days. Not true. She's very attentive. It's nice. So what I was reminded of is actually an interaction I had with a god sister of mine. And she was sharing about how she had entered a relationship. This is going back a couple of years. She had entered a relationship recently. And she had spoken to her Guru Maharaj, Kadam Karan Maharaj. And Kadam Karan Maharaj was like, why don't you come to New York? I want you in New York for some time. And then she expressed that, look, I've just entered this relationship. And then what was Maharaj going to say? No, Krishna's service is higher. Forget your new relationship. Put him aside. Tell him to go and find somebody else. No, what did he say? Focus on the relationship. Now we could see this in 2 ways. That, okay, like, she's just entered a relationship. She obviously she wants somebody in her life, so give her, she needs to focus on that relationship. So it's just, okay, yes, there's Krishna service, but you've decided to enter Grihastha ashram with this person, or you want to enter Grihastha ashram with this person. So I guess Krishna service has to be given up. You could take it in that light. Or the other light you could see it in is how devotees should be taking their relationships, which is that we are living outside. As you can see, I mean, okay, I'm wearing this, which looks saffron, but it's not. And the proof of that is this here, which is white. Saffron means monk and brahmachari, and I am neither. I'm half and half, as you can see. But I'm living outside, I'm working outside, and just like all of you. But you also have families, etc. I have my mum, I'm living with mum. We may have relationships, fiancés, fiancé, I don't know, whatever. We have children, spouses, parents. All of these, especially those that we're living with, are supporting us in our Krishna consciousness, either now or in the future, in some way, shape or form. And it's termed Grihastha Ashram. It's taking shelter of household life. And taking shelter of household life means doing the prescribed duties that household life comes with. Household chores have to be done, the money has to come into the house, all these things. Relationships have to be managed. I'm not saying get involved, interlocked with everyone and anyone, but they have to be managed. But most importantly, the people you're living with need to feel stable. The Mataji needs to feel stable, that her husband is bringing the money home. Maybe you work also, and I'm not saying that you don't work, but traditionally speaking, I guess, that the money's coming home, that my husband's coming and like looking after my emotional needs, looking after the needs of my children. The husband needs to know that my wife is there, she's going to be like supporting me. And I guess, what else do you feel like you would need from a spouse?
Got everything.
What would you need in a spouse? I'm not saying that your wife is perfect. Well, probably please ask him after 2 years.
Oh God.
Come home, garam paratha.
So food,
Not
like,
a cold one.
so I guess if I generalize that, this idea that you come home and you feel like you're home. You've not come to a hotel, you've not come to a place where people are just focused on themselves, and then it's like, oh my gosh, like, Mataji, I just come home, because you won't say, call your wife now, because you have to be like a servant. Mataji, please can I have some food now? Please, Mataji.
Actually, for me, then it will be the fact that the material stuff is there, but the need would be that my wife would need to support me in my spiritual endeavors, because then that will kind of also make me stronger as well and have more motivation to do more.
And that will go both ways, right? Especially
Yeah.
if both partners are spiritual. That both would need to feel supported in their spiritual life.
Probably this is where sadhu sangha is very important.
Sorry?
Sadhu sangha is very
Sadhu Sangha is important, yeah?
Because in Grahastha's life, you're always surrounded with problems, stress. So when like, on occasion like today we came out, so despite we call ourselves learned, we read all these, we listen to it all the time. But when we listen it again and again and associate with devotees, you make a big difference.
Yeah.
You make a big difference.
Yeah.
And that is good for the children as well.
Yeah. So we need that association to keep us alive in Krishna consciousness, so that we are reminded of our spiritual goals and the spiritual path and the practice, the abhidaya, which is activities, lifestyle and character. But if we forget these things, if we forget that Krishna consciousness is all three of them, the practice of Krishna consciousness is all three, then we become hung over about the activities. And then my wife is not supporting my Krishna consciousness because she's affecting me, she's stopping me from chanting when I'm trying to chant. When I'm sitting down on a sangha and trying to relish Krishna Katha, she's coming in and telling me about the problems that she's having in her day. What can happen over time is that when you show love, and I'm speaking from experience here, where you be an instrument of love in those moments, but then you also calmly explain that, look, If it can wait, let it wait. Then over time, and I again have first-hand experience of this with mum, they start to learn to respect when we're prioritizing our practice. They come to us because they don't prioritize it in the same way we are. I mean, we're trying to prioritize our spiritual practice. But over time, they recognize that this is a priority for me. And therefore, they will also recognize that, okay, if something can wait until after you finish your chanting, after you finish your reading, after you finished the Sangha call or whatever it is, then they can learn to wait. And they do. It takes time and love. But if you're going to constantly challenge their needs, if you're going to constantly put your idea of my service to Krishna before the needs, the interests, the concerns of the other person, who is helping your ashram be stable, then your ashram is not going to be an ashram anymore. It's going to rock like a boat. And a rocky boat is not a place of shelter. And so I'm not using this to say that we should try to please the desires of the other person or the other people in the household. We have to use our intelligence to identify what do we need to address now versus what can we say, let's look at it later. Let's say breakfast. I'll just use breakfast as a prime example. Let's say the husband has to go to work at 10 a.m. Or actually, let's go normal, 9 a.m. You've woken up at 6. He leaves at 8. And at 6:10, he's coming, Kiran, stop chanting. Like, can't you see that there's household stuff to do? You need to cook and everything like that. Govind Prabhu is like, yes, tell her off. I'm joking. But then he can go, okay, it's 6:10. It will take me 15 minutes to cook the breakfast and lunch. I acknowledge that you're concerned, but I can deal with it at 7. I can deal with it after I've chanted some rounds. But it's all about being an instrument of love. If in return Kiran was like, can't you see him chanting? I'll do it later. Then he's going to get agitated. And then you can have a nice chaat masala at home. The drama begins. One person picks the velan up, the other picks the car keys up and says, I'm leaving. And she's like, I'm going to beat you up. True story, mate. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just going on and on. But I think that experience that my god sisters had with us, with Spiritual Master, is profound, because what he's showcasing is that actually, as devotees, we want to bring spirituality to all of our relationships. To those who are a bit distant, who we don't have so much time and energy with, then fine, like maybe you distance a bit. But those who you're living with, or you're planning to live with, if you're not going to be there to support them, if you're not going to give them the time, the energy, and if you're not going to be instruments of Krishna's love for them, then the chances of your ashram being an ashram fall much shorter. And all of that is because there's the I in the service. There's the anger of my service or my spirituality. And so I'm just conscious of time. I can pause there if anybody has comments, questions, corrections, suggestions. But I'll just put a disclaimer out there. Nobody in this room is allowed to complain about their spouse as part of this period. Husband or wife. Or partner in this case. You don't have one. So you can complain all about your sister you want, but we'll do it in private. We'll do it in private.
Can you consider it as an advice? When they ask you questions, consider it as an advice.
So yeah. Otherwise, if there's nothing, then I'm more than happy. Well, yes.
Yeah, just to add on what you said, it's a very nice word, ashram. Mm-hmm. When you take the rum out of it, and that's why it goes ash. So the relationship, I don't know how many people who's married people or who's going to get married, they will remember that 7 vow they take when they get married, because that 7 vow is only 7 minutes that get forgotten forever in their lifetime. But if people can look back into those vows, and then we'll see the importance of it, like everything what Prabhuji just said, similar things, humbleness, tolerance, okay, because it says to you, whatever your husband is trying to do, you help, and same thing, vice and versa, is not only one way, it's a vice and versa vow you take to support the wife. Yes, I'm going to support my wife. I don't know what happened over a period of time that get lost. So that's why association like this coming to remind us back. But only if you realize it. You can listen to it, but if you're not realizing it, you think like Prabhu is talking, maybe he's talking about somebody else. And that's why Bhagavad Gita is when Krishna is talking Bhagavad Gita, he's talking to you. Not is like it was talking to Arjuna, but lots of people misunderstand that. Srila Prabhupada clarified that so many times. So whenever you're reading Bhagavad Gita, and this is what Gandhi experienced all the time, Gandhi says, each time when I grab this Bhagavad Gita, when I read it, Krishna is talking to me. And he's always something new. Despite he read Bhagavad Gita so many times, but every time when he's reading, he finds it is like something new. Why didn't he pick that piece of information before? So
that's
Sadhu
a nice
Sangha
point.
is very, very important.
It's a nice point. You remind me of Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Shravanam is hearing. When we come together, we hear. But if we just hear, then the next morning we wake up and it's like, oh yeah, that was a nice program. Prabhuji said something nice. What did he say? It sounded nice. So then Mananam is required. Mananam means contemplation, thinking about what was spoken about. Oftentimes people use this stage to then discuss with others over prasadam instead of catching up on, oh, what happened on TV? Oh, what did your neighbor do? Oh, what did we just hear? What did you learn? What are you going to take away now? And then nididhyasanam, which means applying it into life. Okay, there's 1 thing, there's 3 things, there's 5 things I want to take away and learn. Now, next time you see your wife chanting, you will, respect, she's chanting, I won't disturb her unless absolutely necessary. And if needed, you will make your own breakfast.
It's very simple now. Get a porridge in a bowl of milk, microwave it, is done.
Thank you.
Can I ask Prabhu a question? Because he's already married. So Prabhu, how do you...
Marriage tips.
So spiritually, how do you know what your wife's needs and wants are spiritually? How do you communicate that with her? How do you know that? Or do you just feel like you live together for years, so you know?
That's experience. Again, my kids will back me up. Listen to Srila Prabhupada 24/7. And honestly, that give you a good experience. Like I says to you, life is not only me. Despite in the spiritual life, it's always about us. Marriage is not done between a boy and a girl. Marriage is done between 2 big families. So the way you look after your family, at that point, don't look at how she behaved towards your family. You have to use your own judgment, how you're going to treat her family. Because by doing that, going to that same topic where Prabhu went home, despite he was performing his spiritual life, but that half an hour, 1 hour when he went home, it created a different feeling for the family to just see him there. So I don't know, by maybe Krishna's and Srila Prabhupada's mercy, I see that work in my life, There is ups and downs, I don't say no. I never give up. We will sit later on after the discussion, after the argument has happened, and I will always try to make them understand where they went wrong and how we should have tackled it.
So the vibe I get from you is it's not just about your spiritual life, it's about the spiritual life of your wife and your kids, and that's what you look at as well.
Yeah, the family as well.
So needs of the family as well, in spiritual life.
I look more after her family than my own family. Honestly, Why? Because I just want to make sure her family don't feel that I just, it's just me married her and that's it, finish. No. So I am more bonded to her family than she is. In a way, I'm blessed that for that much. I'm more blended to any of her family. And despite her language of communication, her family, they are Bengalis. And that's the only language they speak, Bengali. And I never had that training to speak Bengali because I speak only Hindi and English. So when I married her, in 3 years, I learned Bengali. Yeah, I had to, because otherwise all her aunties, all her mom and dad, beside Bengali, they will not understand anything. So the first 3 years, whenever I will go India, so she has to sit beside me. Everybody who will come, I will speak to her in English or in Hindi, and then she will translate to them, and whatever they are saying, it will get translated. But thank Krishna's arrangement, no more.
So Mataji, I would ask you then, how do you know Prabhu's needs spiritually?
I can speak in Hindi, Bengali.
You speak Hindi then?
उनकी जो ज़रूरत है आपको कैसे पता लगता है उनकी आध्यात्मिक ज़रूरत को?
Just one.
वो आपको बता देते हैं क्या?
वो मेरे से ज़्यादा उसका भक्ति है कि वो बहुत प्रभुपाद जी को बहुत मानते हैं.
His devotion is more than
Devotion
mine.
भक्ति है. I came from Mayapur and I learned all the from him.
Wow. Mataji came from Mayapur and she's learning bhakti from her husband.
Okay, Haribol.
And she got her place right where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Prabhuji?
Yes,
Yeah.
we done an ashram.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do Shiva on Mayapur ISKCON like 8 years.
Oh, wow.
I can-
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing.
And thank you. If I'm allowed to say that, I married Mataji just because I saw her making Tulsi Mala for Nishingadev.
Wow.
My Ish Devata was Nishingadev when I went to Mayapur. And I come across to buy this harmonium, which they were selling in their shop. So I bought the harmonium and she was making the mala. And I couldn't communicate with her because she was not understanding English or Hindi. She speaks only Bengali, very little English. So her brother speaks Hindi. So I managed to get the harmonium. But seeing her sitting at the back doing, I said, what she's doing? And her brother says to me, she's making golden for tomorrow morning for Mangalati for Nishingadev. I said, really? So I sat there. I just watched her making the golden because I thought, I'm blessed. See, the golden that my Ishdev is going to wear, somebody's making that here. And that's how everything started. And 4 years later, she proposed me.
Oh, is it? Oh!
Yeah.
So this harmonium is an instrument of Krishna's love
Yes.
between two who are now married couple.
Yeah. That's true.
I do want to just caveat one thing, right? So what I'm saying is not about that we should please everyone. Is that like Prabhu has the capacity? You have the capacity to be able to support and really help her family a lot. But there's in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Nectar Devotion, it is mentioned that quote, when one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in its renunciation. And the reason why I'm quoting that is because sometimes what can happen is that we swing from one side of the pendulum of renunciation to the other side of the pendulum, which is full on getting involved in everything. But what we need to do is be intelligent about how we place ourselves with the knowledge of how the relationships are spiritually nourishing each other. Naturally, when you're living in the same house, you want to create an environment which is spiritually nourishing for everyone. Sometimes what can happen is that one partner is interested in spirituality, the other is not. But then that means your baseline has to be equal. It means that you have to support their needs whilst you're practicing your bhakti and they're supporting your needs in bhakti. And on the flip, it could also be that you both are very spiritual, but your extended family is not spiritual. They're not interested in spirituality. And therefore, that's why I use the word manage relationships. Because with some, you may feel that actually I've got a deep bond here. I want to make sure that even though they're not devotees, there's an attachment sometimes. So you want to help them in their spiritual life by being an instrument of love in a close way. But other times you may find that actually these extended relationships, all they're really doing is pulling me down. They're not really supporting me. They're not really serving me. And I'm trying to serve them by being the instrument of Krishna's love. But I've got limited capacity. And so I'm not able to give them the amount of love or the extent of Krishna's love that they really need to see spiritual life as something more than just the 5 minutes of Aarti in the morning and the temple on Janmashtami days. And so there we then use our intelligence to understand, okay, how much do we keep close to them? So I want to reiterate, I'm not saying that this session is not about everybody and anyone that we're associated with. It's about being smart and intelligent in understanding those relationships that we're equally in supporting each other's nourishment in Krishna consciousness, or meant to be, and creating a stable environment, but then also recognizing those relationships that are actually just, as we just heard about, have the knowledge, have the understanding of how everything is related to Krishna, and recognize those relationships that are not so conducive to Krishna consciousness. And based on who we are, based on our personality, then we may find that we may still continue to be close. We may find that actually a bit of separate distance is good, but still continue to be an instrument of Krishna's love. Because love, if I was to ask anyone in this room, what brought you to this Sangha, what brought you here, the answer is not going to be the philosophy. The answer is not going to be me because I'm such an excellent speaker. You can praise me afterwards. It's because there's love. Kiran, Govind, Navneet, Radhapriya, you've experienced love through them. And so you've all come here to be involved in that love.
May I say something?
Yes.
Sitting here with everyone, particularly the younger children, takes me back to when I was 5 years old. And my mother was a preacher, and every Sunday I would go to Sunday school, and we would have exactly what is happening here today. We would be read scriptures from the Holy Bible, and then anecdotal, it would be brought into our consciousness on transporting the chosen word into real life. So sitting here today has taken me from my 71 years back to my 5th year.
Amazing.
So the main thing, the main thing that I have got from sitting here, listening in this warm atmosphere, is that at Sunday school I was not taught to hate. I was taught to love and to respect. So what I learnt all those years ago when I was your age, I still have in my heart today.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Can I
Okay,
just add
can I
to
just
the-
interrupt? I'm just going to pop to the loo and I'll be back.
No, you can't.
Did you want to go through anything? Otherwise, we can do candle offering. If you wanted me to talk about...
Whatever you want to do.
And actually, before you leave from your asana, I would say, because you said realization. So Govind is here. I've never said that. I'll just say thank you. Because when I went to Mauritius, basically, I realized that his presence made my spirituality happen. And if it's not there, it's very less. It's very limiting, very less. So I would say thank you. even if I complain or something, please forgive me because I keep moaning and complaining. So, yes, thank you so much for everything he does.
That's nice. It's
Thank you for your class because it helps.
That's good. That's nice. It's funny because I didn't go through this, but maybe you just encouraged me to actually do this as well. At the end of my notes, which I haven't been using much, by the end, I basically had a little section to basically just go appreciate those people who have really gone above and beyond for my life. I'm not in the temple, so I can do this, but so many people have helped my spiritual life come to life. The obvious one that I've been speaking about so much is Mom with her support. If she isn't at home doing the cooking, doing the cleaning, doing all these things, then I'm not going to get time to chant. I'm not going to get time to read. I'm not going to get time to do sanghas. I'm not going to get time to prepare for classes. I'm not going to get time to come here and give these sanghas. That's a big sacrifice that mothers and a lot of traditional wives make. But then also personalities like Divyambara Prabhu, who through ups and downs in life, I feel like I've never really reciprocated with him properly, but he's always gone above and beyond to support me when I need him. And I can complain, like, oh, Divyambara Prabhu, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But actually, I think he's one person that I've learned that, you know what, I don't complain. Somehow or another with Divyambara, unless you can tell everyone I'm lying, I don't know. But I feel like with Divyambara Prabhu, I've learned so much that actually, because he's actually an example of this, where he's always appreciating his mom. He's always appreciating the service that other people have done in his life to help him practice his Krishna consciousness. And so many times I've heard, and I say this in front of Mum now, but because I've never had the courage to say this because of my pride, but so many times he has appreciated my parents, no matter the difficulty we have. Because of them, I'm able to practice spirituality today. Whether or not they practice is a different story, but because of them, I'm able to practice. And then through him, Nikita Bhabi to some degree, because even though they're in a relationship, and naturally those who are coming into a relationship recognize that, it takes a lot of time and energy. A lot of your other relationships kind of go to the background. Friends, family, services go to the background. So many things go to the background. But when I've needed Divyambara Prabhu, she's been so understanding to allow him to give me time. So, thank you. And it is Vaishnav etiquette to offer obeisances. And I'm not in the temple, so I actually can offer obeisances here. And I wish to do so. Okay. Hare Krishna.